Do they like the metric, the unit I charge by, or do they like the modality, the way that I execute the metric? And it is the combination of these two that really creates a pricing model that works. When you're designing your SaaS pricing model, you can think of it in the following way: metric plus modality. I design pricing models for a lot of my clients, and almost all of my clients. And I hear a lot of things being mentioned as a pricing model, like we have a usage-based pricing model, or usage-based is a pricing model, or we have a license-based or per user-based, and so forth. And I think that I would just want to give you a little bit of language to sort of understand what's going on, because in reality what we're doing is we're making two decisions in a pricing model. One of them is the metric and the other one is the modality. So let me break it down and show you why it's important and how you can use this in your own SaaS business. So a pricing metric would be the unit that you price by, right? So it is per user or per whatever API call or per gigabyte that is stored or put through the system, or whatever it is that the unit is that you price by, right? I have priced per satellite that is live, per live salmon, of course per user, and so forth. This is the one step. So the metric usually determines how well you fit into the customer's value chain. So usually if you can price something that is an output that the customer actually wants, let's say the customer wants, let's say, revenue. And you can say, well, we're going to charge you a percentage of revenue that we generate for you, or they have, let's say, some sales that they want. So we're charging you for every sale, or per click, or per transaction, or whatever it is that the outcome of the software that you deliver to them is. Then they presumably want more of that outcome, and if you can price at the outcome level instead of the input level, so users are often an input, an API call is just a piece of infrastructure that runs somewhere in the middle of the value chain, but it isn't necessarily what the customer actually want. So if you can answer the question, well, would the customer just naturally want as much of this as possible, then that is probably, from a metric point of view, a good pricing metric. So would the customer want as much revenue as possible or as many sales as possible, then the answer is probably yes, right? But would the customer want as many users as possible? Maybe, right? Maybe not. So usually what the customer will say, well, how many users do we need? So we actually want to minimize users, but we do want to maximize something else. And is that something else that is the good pricing metric? Not to be confused with the pricing modality. So the modality is how you execute the pricing metric. So modality, so the way that something is done, right? Rather than what is measured. So what it is measured and then the way something is done. And we generally have a few things here. We have license-based, we have usage-based, and we have credits. So a license, well, old school, but we actually also have perpetual, right? So perpetual is, I buy your software. In the old days, it was either installed on my server or in a CD-ROM that I bought in a store, and then I went home and installed the software. And now I have a right to use it forever. So it's not a subscription, it's just a one-time payment. I have a lifetime right to use, and that's it. So that's what was called a perpetual license in the past. So that is, so maybe you say, well, you get 5 user licenses, and then you can onboard 5 user profiles to the software, and you get them forever. 100 years from now, I'm not going to charge you because you already paid for this upfront. As opposed to a recurring license where you put a time period on this, where you say, well, I'm going to charge you per user per month, or per API call. Like say I have some sort of capacity, you can run 1 million API calls through this per month. But I'm giving you the right to do this. I'm not measuring if you actually use it. So I'm saying, I'm going to charge you for 5 users. Even though you only have 3, right? But you pay 5, you have the right to use 5, and then that is your right, your problem if you don't do it. Same with API calls, same with everything else. So if I have, let's say in Gmail, I pay for a right to store a certain amount of gigabytes in my account. If I don't use all of it, that's on me. If I use all of it, well, great. I now have, let's say, optimized my purchase. I have spent every last gigabyte of storage I had available, but if I need to go more, I need to buy, let's say, a bigger license here. This is supposed to usage-based. So usage-based would be, let's see how many users I actually have in a period, let's say monthly active users, and then at the end of that period, I now get invoiced on the actual usage. Or let's say how many API calls I actually push through the system, and then I get billed on the actual usage. Or let's say how many gigabytes I actually stored, and then I get billed on that usage. So license is a right to use. I pay up front. I can use it or not, up to me. Usage-based is I pay after I actually have used it and only for what I used. Credits is then a combination of usage and license, which is I am going to pay usage-based pricing paid up front. So let's say I buy 1 million storage credits for gigabytes. I do that every month. So I have a subscription to some credits, and then whatever I actually use gets subtracted from my amount of credits. If I don't use it, it gets rolled over into the next period. But in the next period, I still get, billed for a new set of 1 million credits to run some gigabytes. So credit models are a little bit more complicated. They have sort of the best of both worlds, except that they're more complicated. So you need to explain it to the customer and say, well, you have essentially a usage-based pricing, but it's paid up front. So you have a recurring payment that is the same every month. And then either you spend it all or you don't, but over time it's going to even out and we can sort of set the right level for you. So it's not usage-based, but you still only pay for the usage that you actually have, and then the usage you don't have, you still have a future right that is not tied to a specific time period in the form of a credit in your account. So audible.com, the audiobooks works in this way. So I subscribe, I get a credit, I subscribe, I get a credit. Come summer, I have 5 credits in my account. I download all of them. I listen to 5 audiobooks that summer, but I don't unsubscribe. I just keep subscribing. Every month I get a new credit. That's a sort of very common example of a credit system here. So what you can then do is you can take any metric and combine it with any type of modality to get the pricing model that you want. You can say, well, I want a user-based license, or I want a user-based, usage-based model, so monthly active user in arrears. Or I want to have revenue license. So I want to be able to push, let's say, 1 million of revenue through the platform. And then if I don't put 1 million of revenue through, that's on me. Or I want to have a percentage of actual revenue that I push through the platform. So that's a usage-based model. So it is a really good way to say, well, what part is it that my customer likes? Do they like the metric, the unit I charge by, or do they like the modality, the way that I execute the metric? And it is the combination of these two that really creates a pricing model that works. I hope this sort of super simple 2-step framework has given you some insights on what it is that you actually do right now in your pricing model, and why it works in the way that it does, and maybe giving you an idea to change it if you think that you have something that could work even better. So good luck with it. Hey there. So I create these videos for free so that you can take your great SaaS product and turn it into a great SaaS business. So if you like the video and you got value from it, you should of course subscribe to the channel and also tell a friend. So write someone and say, hey, you're in SaaS, this guy talks about SaaS, maybe there's something in there for you. So that is the only way that this channel actually grows or these videos gets around. And this is sort of how I try to provide value to everyone. I have a network of clients that I have, and I get most of my business from referrals only. So the reason I make the videos and write the books and so forth is actually to just provide value to everyone else, because I can only be in one place at a time. So my hope with all these videos is just to do more good in the world. And if you tell a friend or you share, you can help me do that. So thank you.